Have you ever made something, a presentation, a flyer, maybe a social media post, and it just feels off? I think we've all been there. On one side, you've got this chaotic, kind of confusing mess. And on the other, you see the professional version, and it's just clear, it's intentional, it's organized. It's a really frustrating gap, right? But it's also a super common one.
Well, the good news is, bridging that gap isn't about some secret artistic talent you have to be born with. Not at all. It's really about understanding a few core foundations of visual design, and that is exactly what we are going to break down today.
So how do you cross that bridge? How do you get from that feeling of randomness to a feeling of total intention? The answer is all about learning how to use a few really powerful, fundamental principles.
Okay, let's get into it. Think of these 6 principles not as like strict rules you have to follow, but as the essential ingredients in your design toolkit. A great chef knows exactly when to add a little salt or some acid. Well, a great designer knows exactly how to use these principles to make something that's both effective and beautiful.
First up, hierarchy. This is hands down your design's personal tour guide. It tells the viewer's eye exactly where to look first, then second, then third. Without it, every single element on the page is just screaming for attention at the same time, and all you get is noise. Hierarchy is what carves a clear path for your message to get through.
Want to see it out in the wild? Try this little trick. Grab any poster. Seriously, anything will work. And just squint your eyes until you can't really read the text anymore. What shapes pop out? The biggest, the boldest things that are still visible? That's hierarchy. It's what your brain sees and understands even before you start to read a single word.
All right, so once you've guided their eye with hierarchy, you need to make the whole design feel stable, grounded, and that's where balance comes in. It's all about distributing the visual weight of your elements to create a sense of stability. An unbalanced design just feels unsettling, like it's about to tip right over. Balance, whether it's perfectly symmetrical and formal or asymmetrical and dynamic, is what creates that feeling of harmony.
You can actually feel this one. Imagine a blank page. Now put a big, dark shape on the left side. The whole thing suddenly feels heavy on that side, doesn't it? Okay, now start adding a few smaller, lighter things over on the right. You can feel that point where it starts to feel settled, right? That's you, creating asymmetrical balance in real time.
Now for one of the most powerful and honestly most misunderstood tools in the whole toolkit, white space. Let's be clear, this is not wasted space. It is an active, totally essential element. It's what reduces clutter, what makes things readable, and what creates focus. It gives all your other design elements room to breathe.
I just love this phrase because it is perfect. White space is the pause in a sentence. It's the silence between notes in music. It's what gives real clarity and a touch of elegance to the elements that are there. The more important something is, the more breathing room you should probably give it.
Okay, so your elements have breathing room. Now, they need to feel connected and intentional, not just, scattered all over the page. That's the job of alignment. It's like the invisible glue that holds your whole design together. The key is that nothing should feel like it was just dropped there randomly. Every single element needs a visual connection to something else. That's what creates that clean, organized, and professional look.
I want you to start looking for this everywhere. I mean it. Pick up a magazine, go to a website, and you'll start to see it, this invisible grid. The top of a photo lines up perfectly with the top of a text column. The left edges of 3 different paragraphs are snapped to the same exact line. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the power of a strong grid.
So while alignment is creating that sense of order, repetition is what creates unity and a real sense of identity. This is all about being consistent by reusing certain elements, like a specific color, a font, or even a shape. Repetition creates a kind of visual rhythm, and when you're talking about branding, it's what makes a design instantly recognizable and memorable.
Just think about a well-designed app, like Spotify. You instinctively know what that specific shade of green means, right? It means go. It's an action, like play or follow, and all the headlines look the same. That repetition makes the whole app feel cohesive and, more importantly, incredibly easy to use. You don't have to relearn how to use it on every single screen.
And finally, the principle that makes all the others really sing: contrast. While repetition is creating unity, contrast is what creates focus and draws your attention. It's all about making elements noticeably different so that they stand out. Here's a pro tip. If 2 elements aren't supposed to be exactly the same, don't make them kind of similar, make them very different.
And here's the bottom line. Design has to communicate, first and foremost. The low contrast example on the left isn't just kinda ugly, it's a failure. It fails at its most basic job. The high contrast version on the right isn't just easier to read, it's actually respectful of the viewer's time and attention. That's why good contrast is absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, so we've got our 6 tools: hierarchy, balance, white space, alignment, repetition, and contrast. But how do they actually work together? Let's walk through a quick, practical example, like designing a simple concert poster. This is where all that theory becomes reality.
All right, let's build this poster in our heads. We start with hierarchy. What is the single most important piece of info? The headliner, of course. So we make the band's name the biggest, boldest thing on the page. Done. Next up, balance. We want this to feel energetic, not like a stuffy wedding invitation. So we'll go with an asymmetrical layout. Maybe we'll place the band's name a little off-center to create some movement. Then alignment. To keep it from looking messy, we decide to use an invisible 3-column grid. The band name snaps to the left line, venue info to the center line, a photo snaps to the right. See? Nothing's just floating around. And finally, contrast. We make absolutely sure the most critical details, the date, the time, the ticket website, are impossible to miss. We'll set them in a clean, bold font against a simple, solid background. And there you have it. It's not magic, is it? It's just a series of intentional decisions.
Just knowing these principles is a huge first step, seriously. So now let's talk about how you keep going, how you get on that path to mastery. Where do you go from here to really make these skills second nature?
You know, a great learning path is a mix of different things. You need to study the masters, people like Paula Scher or Paul Rand, to really get the timeless theory. Then you can use structured courses on sites like Coursera or Skillshare to build up your technical skills. But just as important, you have to immerse yourself in the community. Get on sites like Behance and Dribbble. That's where you'll see how these principles are being used right now, and you'll find endless inspiration for your own work.
And hey, if you're a reader, these 3 books are basically the design Bibles. They're non-negotiable. Lupton's Thinking with Type will totally change how you look at words on a page. And books on grid systems. They're not just about teaching you the rules. They teach you how to build a solid foundation so that you know exactly how and when you can break those rules for creative effect.
But after all of that, here is the ultimate secret. Reading and watching videos will only get you so far. The single most important step is this one. You just have to do the work. You have to practice, recreate designs you love, start little passion projects, make stuff, get feedback, and then make it again, but better. There's absolutely no substitute for just doing it.
Because at its core, design isn't really about making things pretty. It's about solving problems, visually. So the question I'm going to leave you with is this. Now that you have the tools, what visual problem are you going to solve first?